Hello, welcome back. I am Andrea B, and thank you for tuning in. It's been so long, I know. I think about 3 weeks since I've last recorded, and as I've said before, I really want to be intentional about recording at least once a week, and I've spent my time differently, and no excuses. Not that I owe you all anything, but I really want to be intentional about recording because I am passionate about it. It's fun. I love talking to you all. And so I don't know where my time has been. I know resting has been one thing for sure. I've been needing a lot of rest, just physically, especially, and trying not to overwork myself. And other than resting and working, spending time with family has taken up my time. So I'm here to record and make time for it. So that's my speech. But, oh, and beverage of the day. Cheer wine. Cheers. Boop. Very good. They're not paying me, but it's good. So I will be talking about getting to know yourself, how important it is to know yourself, and having clarity on that. And the reason why I think a lot of people don't know themselves is because we have been programmed to follow other people, especially from childhood, where we rely on our parents and other caregivers to tell us what to do and what we should like, what we shouldn't like. All of that is formed from our environment, because if you think about, let's say your mom doesn't like a certain food, and you may think, well, should I not like that food? Or a group of friends doesn't like a certain movie, and to not be the one person, or I don't want to say oddball, but I know that's a word that's used to describe people that don't fit in with the crowd, but just to stand alone in a way where the majority like this one thing, it'll be easier to go with the crowd. And that's what most of us have told ourselves at one point in our life, is that it's easier to just go along with the crowd to fit in, because not fitting in comes with different consequences, which are not negative consequences, but it may seem that way because not fitting in can come with ridicule and judgment, and no one wants that. However, it'll come regardless, so I think it's best for us to just be ourselves regardless, and know that people will have something to say about it, good or bad. But being ourselves benefit us because it's freeing. It's freedom. It's liberating. It is not caring so much about what people say or think, because trying to be someone else is torture, because we will be constantly fighting who we are and fighting that part of us that wants to be something else. There will always be a clash in that area. So I think another reason, or just going back to the environment piece, and how I don't think a lot of kids know that they can be themselves. Because, and I start with kids because kids grow up into adults. So maybe you can think back to what you've learned growing up about who you should be, what you should be doing, what you should like and shouldn't like, and how it's shaped your identity today. And we can always look back and say, could have, should have, would have. If I would have done this, if I could have done this, this would have been differently, and we'll never know. And I just think it's so unfair that a lot of kids don't know that they can be themselves. And how, as I said, those kids become adults that are very confused, and then they look back with a lot of regrets, and they are in a position that they don't enjoy, but they feel stuck and they're thinking, how do I get myself out of this mess? Because as liberating as being ourselves may be, did I word that the way I wanted to? As liberating as being ourselves can be, it's not that easy as if you wake up and say, I'm going to be myself, and life is just perfect. There are levels to it where we are slowly unlearning behaviors and beliefs that don't work for us and filling our environment with the things that we do like. And so, let's say you're in a job that you don't like, and you can say, you know what, this position is not me, this is not where I want to be, and maybe immediately quitting is not the best idea, but it's something you can work towards. And so that's what I mean when I say it's not so easy. And that doesn't mean you can't be yourself just because you're not quitting that job immediately. That just means this is one area you're working to improve. And so maybe you can be yourself in other ways, as I said, making other decisions that are are more short term while you work on the long term. And and sticking with that example, let's say you are now looking at jobs that do work for you, that you think you would enjoy, instead of just applying to jobs that you think you should apply to because someone else said you should have that job. And going back to getting to know ourselves, and why that's important is because a lot of people don't know what they like. They don't know what they enjoy, what they like to do. You can say, tell me about yourself, and people will likely start with their job. And outside of their job, they may describe other roles, like I am a, I'm married or I have kids. And outside of that, you'll ask them, well, what do you like to do? And they don't know what they like to do. What type of movies do you like? They don't know. What, how do you fill your free time? And I think, and this reminds me too of, I don't know where I got this tip, but in relation to job interviews, I was taught that it's okay to, when an employer says, tell me about yourself, they want to know about you outside of this job, because your resume already has your qualifications listed. And so tell them about you. Who are you? What do you like to do? And so after that, getting that piece of advice, I've always answered that question with hobbies: reading, writing, cooking, and whatever. The list goes on. But I, and that's just even sad too, because people's jobs really do make up their identity, that they don't know themselves outside of that role. and they don't have much to talk about. They don't have much going for themselves outside of their job. And we're not meant to put anything first other than God. And if our job is coming first above everything else, that is a problem. And not just jobs, it can be anything. But for the sake of this example, I use jobs. So, circling back to God and who He's called you to be, that is who you are, who God created you to be. It starts with at the core. And if your core is filled with hate and spite and toxicity, that's not who God called you to be. And so as you chip all of that away and figure out, why is there hate at the core? Why is there spite and negativity and toxicity at the core of me? How do I chip that away? And so maybe that is, sorry, there's an update. Schedule your update later. Enter my password. So, who has God called you to be? That and so chipping those things away, that negativity, could mean, as I said, instead of saying you like to drink and smoke just because that's what your friends do, you can chip away that part of you by saying, instead of spending my time drinking and smoking, I can read, I can go outside and go to a museum, I can take a course, and that is making room for who God has called you to be. And because we are all our own individual person, why should we be expected to be like other people and to like what everyone else likes? No. So you have permission to not fit in. Not fitting in is great, because think of all the cool kids, especially on the movies. What do all the cool kids do? Drink, smoke, they ditch school, they sneak out at night and get into trouble, and they're all about sex and just living on the wild side. And why is that cool? In moderation, sure, if you want to drink and smoke, that's your business. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sex, obviously, just you all know what I mean, that I don't have to get into healthy sexual relationships. You all know. And my point in saying all of this is, that's the image that's portrayed with the so-called cool kids, is the people that make decisions that are very risky but impulsive and very immature. And if you don't engage in those behaviors, you're considered lame or a nerd, whatever. If you like school, if you like knowledge, if you want to learn, and you're considered a nerd for that, for getting good grades. Like, how dumb is that? But that's been the image that's been out there for since before I was born. And instead of fitting in with that crowd, and this doesn't just apply to high school, because there are some adults well into their 50s and 60s that are still in those circles of just clubbing all the time and wanting to be seen and wanting to wear the latest clothes, and that's all they care about. And go back to school, when you were in high school, that's all those so-called cool kids cared about too, because if you did not wear the clothes that they wore, they would talk about you. And it's just dumb. It's just dumb that that's how shallow some people are. So to fit in a crowd that is like-minded for you is who God has called you to be. That's the place that God has called you to fit into. And the road less traveled is basically what I'm getting at. Is sometimes it may feel lonely, or you may feel isolated from other people, but chances are you're moving in the right direction because you're not trying to have meaningless connections. You actually want to be around people that want to cultivate growth, and that you can learn from, and it's you're feeding into each other, and it's not just draining you. And the only way to find those people is to, again, know yourself, know what you're about, know what you like, know what you don't like, because people will be able to tell who you are by what you say and who you surround yourself with, the things you surround yourself with. And I I think I'm even thinking personally how that's why I'm saying all of this, is because I've been there where I did not give myself permission to be myself. And I remember an example. There was a teacher I had in high school that was obsessed with paper clips and the what's the word? The function, what the different things that paper clips could be used for, and she sold me on it. And all of a sudden I'm thinking I love paper clips too, and I'm going around obsessed with paper clips now, and that's fine. You know, paper clips are great. I still use paper clips, but I'm not in love with them the way I try. But I tried to take that on, and I can remember different parts of my life where I tried to take other people's identities and make it mine, or just the things that they like. One girl I remember said, I want a white tiger as a pet, and all of a sudden I want one. And an old friend of mine said, I want to drive a Maybach, and now I'm saying, well, I want to drive one too. And no, I don't. I don't want a white tiger. I don't want a Maybach. No, that just wasn't me. But at the time, I thought it had to be, because who I was and who I am is not considered cool like the cool kids. I remember too playing a game. I forget the name of the game, but we sat in a circle and we pulled a card, and whoever fits the description gets that card. And the card that was pulled was the least likely to do something illegal. And everybody looked at me and said, here you go. I was always considered the granny of the group. And I remember trying to justify and prove, like in that moment, that no, I I've done something illegal. I ran a red light before, and why would I be proud of that? Why would I want to prove that just to try to fit in? And they were all still like, nah, because back then I really wasn't into doing anything risky. I was always thinking, no, my mom would not like that. I would get in trouble, and a lot of my peers were just thinking, ugh, of course, you're always thinking about getting in trouble. You don't want to do anything fun. And that was just me. So, excuse me, in a way I was being myself, but there was still a part of me that wanted to fit in with those people and trying to prove that I belong. And I shouldn't have had to prove that. And now I know I don't have to prove it. I pray that you know that too. You don't have to prove yourself. Either you will fit in or you won't. And where I don't fit in, I'm not even mad about it because I know that God will make room for me and no one can take that away from me because God says so. And I even think of another example where a, my old roommate in college, I don't know where we were going, but we were just talking about drinking. And I said, "Oh, I like wine." And she said, "What are you, a grandma? Wine?" And I'm thinking, what's wrong with wine? Like, why is drinking wine associated with being a grandma? And so I don't know. I have no idea. But those are just the examples of what I've faced throughout my life. And I it weighed on me. It weighed on me a lot because, like I said, those labels of being a lame and it just did not feel good because people don't want to hang with the so-called lames and the nerds, and they'll try to use you because they know they have this status, and so they'll keep you around just to get what they want, maybe make themselves feel good and to take advantage of you. But those are the people that just did not care about me. And I was just being sucked dry. So I get to say all this because I had to learn it by going through it. And maybe you can relate, but my hope is that you can't, because people need the courage to be themselves and know that I am enough the way God created me to be. I don't have to be anyone else. You can't be anyone else. No matter how hard you try, you're still you underneath the layers of clothes, the makeup, the surgeries, the hair. You are still you regardless. So it's better to be yourself because I think it's easier, and it may be cheaper, but not in a bad way. It's that I realized the more that I'm myself, I'm not investing so much in trying to keep up with people because my maintenance is very low key. Just like skincare, for example, I the face wash I use costs $15, but guess how long that bottle lasts me? Over a year, because all it takes is a little pump, wash, 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 and then I'm done. That's what I mean by maybe cheaper, but it's a good investment because I'm not constantly having to go to keep up and buy all these products because it's trendy and cool. And no, 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 no. And same with makeup. I will wear it here and there, probably once a year. I have a little, what's on my lips is called almost lipstick. So it has color and a tint to it, but just, I don't know why it's called almost lipstick. But anyway, I do mostly wear lip color. But other than that, I may wear makeup once a year, and that's just not what I'm interested in, an everyday thing. And if you are, nothing wrong with that, but be you. Don't wear makeup because you think you have to and that you should, and if you don't, you won't be good enough. Because being you is enough. Start there. Because when you are who you are, that is enough for where you are in this moment. You don't have to be more than yourself until God calls you to be more and to invest in more, to work on more. But if you can face yourself today and look in the mirror as you are, let that be enough, and again, work toward the long term of who you're called to be. And I think that's where a lot of people fail, is that there's a lot of shoulds, there is a lot of noise, and says who? Who says you should? Why should you? And if you don't, what's the consequence? And if you really think about what the worst may be, you probably won't care. You'll say, oh, whatever. If people don't like me because I don't do this thing, well, they probably don't like you already. To tell you that, oh, if you don't wear this outfit, I won't like you. That sounds stupid. They probably don't like you already. And so they're having control over you by saying you have to wear this outfit, and if you wear it, you're giving in to their control. They have you right where they want you. And so what? If they don't like you, they just don't like you. And if you want people to like you that bad that you are willing to do what they think you should, you have to work with yourself and figure out why their approval means so much to you. And chances are it really doesn't, because you will find out that your validation is what you need, and the love of God is what you need. And that's what I mean when I say accepting that you are enough, is you have to like yourself, because when you like yourself, you won't care too much about who doesn't like you, and you will appreciate the people that do like you for being who you are. Because think about, if you're wearing a mask and people like you for that mask, they still don't like you. They just like the character that you're portraying and who you're trying to be. And you're still not sleeping well at night. That's why all of those likes don't matter. All of those comments, the yes queen and the yes king and all of that stuff doesn't really feed your soul. That's why it's instant gratification and it's temporary, because they only like what they see for that moment, that photo, and that's not you. And so if you post you and they don't like it, they're telling you what they're looking for. And if they're looking for that superficial version of you, that means they don't really care about you. And so you may go from 100,000 likes to 5, and those 5 people that like you for being you are going to matter a lot more than the thousands. I guarantee it, because there is value in genuine connections and in genuine validation. That's the stuff that matters. That's the stuff that counts. I'm sure you all have heard before where people say, I'm rich, and they don't mean rich in finances. They mean rich in love and family and laughter. That is genuine. That's what we should be striving for, not the superficial, the instant gratification. And that's why people constantly post and constantly chase the likes, because it's temporary. You get temporary validation of, ooh, I posted my hair this way and so many people liked it. And now I got to post another picture with this style. And now I got to do this pose. When I do this pose, people like it. And it's a chase. You're just chasing that validation. And it'll never be enough until you look at yourself to know that if you are enough for you, that will mean so much to you. But if you don't like who you are, you will constantly expect other people to fill that void. And it starts there. Is when I say you are enough, that doesn't mean the bad, the flaws, or we all have flaws. But what I mean by that is if you are a drug dealer or doing something immoral, scheming and lying and tricking and dipping and sliding, that's not enough. That's just God is working on you. What I mean by you are enough is when you are doing the things that, again, when you are being who God called you to be, that means you are enough. And start there. If you can like that version of you, if you can say, I'm honest, I am loyal, I am kind, and look at the reasons why you can say that about yourself. And that is what I mean by you are enough, is when you begin to nurture the qualities about you that you really appreciate and enjoy, because people are constantly running from themselves because they don't like it. It's, think of, like I said, a liar or a thief. What you If you're taken from somebody else, that means there's something that you think you're lacking, that you don't have, and you think taking it from somebody else will make you happy. And instead of sitting with why you have that desire in the first place, because that would make a thief uncomfortable. To think about, why do I have this urge to steal? That comes with shame, that comes with guilt. And instead of dealing with that shame and guilt, they rather just say, man, this is who I am, and I'm just gonna steal anyway to get by. And they don't deserve it anyway. They have all the money and riches anyway. So if I just steal this little thing from them, they won't notice, and I can get away with it. But that will never be enough, because they will have that urge to do it again. And if their way of dealing with that urge is to keep stealing, that's foolish. And so deal with that part of you, to say, man, I don't like that I have these urges, but I'm going to sit with it anyway, because the urges will come and go, but how we handle them is what matters. And it reminds me of my struggle with overeating, when I would always have that urge, and I use always loosely. Like I said, it comes and goes. There are times where I I'm full and I want to keep going because I'm thinking the food is so good, or I don't want to so-called waste it, and so I just want to eat it now. And if my way of dealing with that urge is to keep overeating, I'm not truly dealing with what's at the core. I will never be happy. I will just be so miserable. And instead, I can accept that the urge is there. I can acknowledge it, rather, and just say, I know, I hear you. I know you want to keep eating. These are the reasons why it won't be a good idea. Think about your future self and what overeating may do to her if you choose this. Same with the lying, same with the stealing. Think about your future self. How will your future self feel if you engage in these behaviors? Will you be disappointed? Will you feel shame? Will you feel guilt? If so, you have the chance now to make your future self happy, to make your future self proud, and choose that version of yourself. So, if you don't like what you're doing, if you don't like that part of you, that is choosing these sinful behaviors, it's best to deal with it because it won't go away by continuing to sin and ignore it. So just face it and say, this is a part of me, and how do I remove it? So that is why getting to know ourselves is important. That means as we are, because like I said, there are parts of us that we may not like, but this is who we are. And what can we do to either change it or accept it, deal with it? Because there's always a choice. And there are some things that I just think aren't worth changing, like our height. Please don't get nobody's surgery to adjust your height. Please, please. Can you get the surgery? Of course you can, but please. Except that's what I mean by we can change something, but it's not worth it. Like our hair. You may not like your hair. Can you change it? Sure. Nothing wrong with changing your hair. What else? So think about that difference though. Changing your hair will come with different responses and reactions compared to the height surgery. It's just, there's less complications with changing your hair, I think. So that's what I mean is saying, and height is a good example because I didn't always like being short. I didn't like it. I didn't like that people commented on it. People would see me and say, "Oh my God, you're so short, you're so little," and I'm thinking, what's the point of telling me this? I already know, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. And for a while, I wanted to be a little taller. And now I just embrace it because it's me. And, there are some perks with being shorter, but, you know, it's not about that because there may be a shorter person that, in my opinion, it comes with perks, but for them, they may think, no, I don't have those perks. But for me, it works. It's not a problem. I can't even think about the true reason of why I wanted to be taller because I just really don't have that desire. I I just don't care that much. I'm okay with my height and I'm choosing to embrace it. And so that's what I mean by there may be parts of you that you don't like, and just ask yourself why before trying to make any change. Think about the why. Where are these feelings coming from? Where is this dislike coming from? Is it from what I think or is it other people? And what did you learn about this? Like being short, that's something for me to explore. Even though I've embraced my height, I can still explore this and just ask myself, what did I learn about being short? And what is it about being tall that I did desire to really understand myself? And I encourage you to do that same work because what gets us into trouble is making those impulsive decisions and quickly trying to change things. Instant gratification is, oh, all I have to do is get this surgery and I'll love myself and I'll be happy. But says who? Who says you should go through this procedure? Who says you should get this hairstyle? Is it what you want? Is do you like this thing? And chances are the most of the things that you don't like about yourself, it all starts up in here in that brain of yours, and it'll just take a simple reframe for you to realize that, oh, I actually like this part. I love this part. Same with my nails and my toes. I went through periods where my nails always had polish, and I'd go through periods where if I wasn't paying someone else to do my nails. I'm doing it at home. And now I can do it, but I've embraced being bare, and I look at my toes and my hands and just admire them as is without polish. And even today, I have my sandals on. My toes aren't polished. I don't even have clear polish on, but that's usually my basic is either clear polish or no polish. But either way, I've learned to love my toes and my nails just bare, no color. And it even got to a point where I started staring at my toes for too long. You know, when that happens, it's like looking at a picture for too long, and you at first you thought it was pretty, and then you say, "Oof, never mind." I did that one day. I think I had on like an olive green maybe, and I love olive green. But that day I stared at my toes too long, and I just said, "This looks like little alien feet. Like olive green is not supposed to be the color of my toes. God did not make me this way, and now it's starting to look weird." And then my mind went to all the movies I've seen with different creatures with colored toes, and I'm thinking, ooh, I don't like this. And so now when I get polish, I prefer the soft pink that's more natural to, as you see, my nails are, it has soft pink. So I look for those polishes because it's closer to the natural. And I had to remove all of the polish, and I literally mean remove, because I got to a period where I threw all of my polish away because I'm thinking, I don't need this. So what's the point? In order to get to where I am now of, well, what do I actually want? Because sure, there is a lot we don't need, but we like them, and that's okay. It's not causing us harm, so why not indulge? But do you want it? I don't always want polish, and sometimes it gets in the way. Like I used to have long nails. I used to prefer mine to grow out really long, to the point that I would be afraid of, oh my God, what if a nail breaks and then I have to cut all of them? Like, what am I going to do? And blah, 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 blah. And trying to, once my nails grow to a certain length, I'd be thinking so far in the future of how can I maintain this so that my nails can always stay this length. I was just so attached to length that I didn't know how to embrace the short. And now I prefer the short because once they start getting dirty and I have to constantly clean throughout the day, it's just like, ugh, this is frustrating. Give me something easier to manage. And I'm learning myself what I like, what I don't like, and it works for me. And if I want polish, I know I can get it. I know I don't have to if I don't want to. And that is what works for me. So, my prayer is that you find what works for you, what you like. It's okay to explore. I have polish now. I I still like to do it myself. Um, but it's not something that I'm rushing to these days. Like I have to keep my nails done, I'm fine with basic manicure. Because like I said, another reason too is that sometimes when I'm like constantly cleaning or using my hands, nails can just get in the way, and I don't have time. I have time, but not for that. I'd rather spend my time focusing on other things. And that's just, like I said, what works for me. And I love it here because who I used to be just tried to keep up with so many beauty standards, and I wasn't happy. It wasn't enough because with the makeup, with the nails, with the trendy clothes, I still was not happy because I did not think I was enough. I did not think I was likable. I did not think I was pretty enough. And I was just so insecure that I was needing people to validate me and try to fill that void, and it wasn't working because I just, like I said, I remember posting for likes, and people can comment and like my pictures, maybe tell me I'm pretty, etc. And it was not enough because I may have said thank you, I may have smiled when I gotten a compliment, but I didn't believe them because their compliment just fell on deaf ears where it just rolled off. It didn't sit. But now, when I receive compliments, I can hold on to them and actually believe them because they are things that I tell myself, and that feels good. And I'm not ashamed of, you know, and the Bible encourages us to not be boastful. So I won't get into all the examples of the things I tell myself. And I'm proud is all that I mean. Where I am now, who I am in this moment, I am happy with her and this version of her. And it feels good when other people can admire those parts of me because I've worked really hard to get here. And that's what I want people to see, those characteristics within me, because it all leads back to God. The love. God is love. God is kind. God is pure and genuine, and that's what I want people to see. So when people see those things, it makes me feel good because I know that it is God living through me and protecting me and covering me and carrying me, shining his light on me. And that's what I want because it feels good, because it is great, but also I want other people to see that because there's a small percentage of it being selfish because, like I said, we're humans. We love compliments, we love validation, but I'm not seeking it. So yes, a small part of it is selfish of, oh yes, you see it, you think I'm pretty, you think I'm kind and sweet. Well, thank you. That feels good. But then the glory and the thanks go back to God. Like, thank you, God. They see me, so they must see you, and I want them to see you. So I pray that you all can get to that place, and if you're there, to maintain that level of gratitude for God, that you're not just doing this for your selfish desires, but that you actually are doing it for others' salvation, that you want them to see him. You want them to experience his love. I think that's why what loving your neighbor looks like is that you're not helping people just to say you're doing it, but you're helping them because you care about their salvation. What the Bible say? You left the 99 for that one? That is beautiful. That is beautiful. So I think I'm wrapping this up. I've been eyeing this chair wine here and there. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yep. Crafted cherry taste. They're not lying about that cherry. That's what I got in that last swig there. So be encouraged, people. Be encouraged. I just pray that God meets you all where you are, exactly where you are, for you to face yourselves. A great movie of this reminder was, or is, The Forge. That's the name of it, right? With Priscilla Shire and the guy, he played a teenager, but my goodness, he had me fooled. He think he's the same age as me. The Forge. Yes, The Forge, a beautiful movie. Great reminder of that when the gentleman was praying, and he was praying for his dad actually, and he just said, I pray that you meet him face to face where he is, so that he can see himself. That was just so beautiful. The way he worded it, I was thinking, yes, because God wants to meet us where we are. He doesn't ask us to come to him when we're perfect and unflawed, because we will always be flawed people. But God just wants us to come to him, believe in him, and he will begin to work within us. And he's always working, but it's up to us to let him in, to let his will be done, to let him work in us, and it will just go up from there. It will be so beautiful to let God work within you. And I know it's not always easy, because sometimes we have our plan and we're thinking, God, your plan, I don't like it. I don't like how it sounds. You're asking me to do something that sounds difficult, or you want me to give this up. Why? I don't like it. God wants to meet you there, in that resistance, that stubbornness, the whatever, because he already sees you. So just meet him there. He just wants that from you. And so that's my prayer, and my encouragement for you all is that you just invite God in to work in you, and be yourself. You're imperfect. Own it. You'll never be perfect. If someone told you otherwise, don't ever talk to them again. They lied to you. They don't care about you. Why would they tell you that you're perfect, or that you can be perfect, or everything will be perfect if you just do this, and this and that? No. No, no, no. Never. It hurts, maybe. I had to accept it for myself and realize that I will never be perfect. So why am I working so hard to try to be something that I will never be? I'd rather be good enough. And sometimes that means, most of the time, everything is all right. I may not have everything I want, but I'm all right with that. I'm all right with where I am. So be encouraged. I hope this was helpful. And if you haven't subscribed already, do so that you can be notified, and turn on the notification bell as well, so you can receive updates when I post more frequently, not just every couple of weeks. I'm working on it. I want to be more intentional about where my time goes. And that's another part of it, is I don't want to post just for the sake of it. I'm very intentional about this platform and the message I put out. And so I don't want to show up just for the numbers and trying to say I have all these subscribers. As helpful as it may be, it like I said, this is not for me. This is for God, to bring all the glory, honor, praise right back to him. So otherwise, I'd be talking about other stuff and doing other things to get those numbers. But no, sometimes I have to, before I can speak to you all, I have to take care of me. So I'm working on it. So again, subscribe, like, help me spread this message. So share, and as always, with love, stay hydrated, get your rest, love one another, and until next time, peace out.